The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler and Jim Kaiju Baker. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Ho, 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 ho.
Is that Santa?
No, it's Ed McMahon, actually. But this is our Christmas episode. Welcome, everybody.
Here we are. We're hidden away in Jim's little mountain house retreat.
Now, you may remember.
Full year ago. Thank you.
We did a Christmas episode last year, but it was all about our favorite Christmas specials. And we kind of spent that. We went off on tangents. We named it.
We tore through everything.
We named every Christmas special that you could think of. But, we have been toying with the idea of bringing back the Star Wars holiday special as a standalone episode in itself. But we did not go there this year. Maybe in 2020. Maybe Christmas 2020 we'll do that.
Because that is a gift that keeps on giving.
Keeps on giving. Especially if you have the copy with the commercials worked into it.
Yeah, I don't think mine has commercials.
Oh, you're admitted.
So
that's half the fun. That's half the fun. This particular Christmas show, we are picking our two favorite Christmas movies, one each, and we're going to discuss it in very much the same format as a normal TMI episode is.
Yes.
So we're going to take them both. But we're foregoing our regular news and confessional segments as this is a very special episode. So we're just going to get right into it.
A very special episode. Do you have your hot cocoa? Curl up in front of the fire?
I do. We've got the fire going here. The zombies that afflicted us in the Halloween episode are long gone.
Well, they're Santa's helpers now, right?
They are Santa's helpers. They put elf hats on, and now they're Santa's helpers.
They're going to lend a hand, but the hand's just going to fall off.
And we're approaching midnight here on Christmas Eve, so we're hoping that maybe we can parlay this into Santa's visit.
I hope I can stay awake long enough.
This is just like hanging through that Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade until the end, so you see Santa.
Just so you can see Santa. Yep.
So what do you think he brought you, Jeff?
I don't know. I hope he brought me another hour of sleep.
Oh, that's no fun. You know what I really want is that Godzilla Criterion box set that just... That's what I want for Christmas.
I'll tell you what I want, because I've been seeing it. I've been delivering a ton of these. Are these the old school freestanding arcade video games?
I've seen those in store after store.
They're mini versions, but my buddy has one that actually has complete with the tracking ball, so you can play Centipede. But his has like 50 games on it.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is the full size.
It is a full size, yeah.
I've seen Space Invaders. I've seen Centipede. I've seen Pac-Man, and I think Dig Dug I've seen as well.
And they have the tabletop ones too. But no, I don't want a tiny one. I don't want a slight smaller replica. I want the big boy. I'm trying to convince the wife right now to just gut the basement, because we have a fireplace down there. Got the basement, put in a bar, and just get a couple of these games. And we can turn into a gaming bar.
So, hey, maybe by the end of this episode, you will get your wish.
Ooh.
We've both been very good.
We have been good, Santa.
Getting into the Christmas spirit, we've got two movies that we would like to spotlight. And one being my favorite Christmas movie, so we're going to start there. Now, this is not a conventional Christmas movie by any means.
I'm halfway through this movie, and I'm like, where is the Christmas connection at?
But it is such that I cannot watch this now at any time of year but Christmas, because I think I saw this first, maybe on Christmas Eve, as a teenager. And ever since then, it's been tied in my mind, undeniably, with the Christmas holiday. And there is a little bit of Christmas to it, which we will get into. And
my note says Christmas connection tenuous at best.
Now, not only is this my favorite Christmas movie, but it's taken us 93 episodes to get to this, and this is actually my favorite movie, period, of all time.
That's crazy. And I can honestly say I have never seen this movie.
Never seen, not even.
I don't think so. I mean,
really?
maybe like some of the James Bond. Well, here's the funny thing, which is again, like you said, we're almost 100 episodes in, and we never really talked about your hardcore devotion to all things 007.
Yeah, no, we haven't.
We really haven't. Because I know for
the opportunity hasn't really availed itself to us.
But we find a way every week to bring up Adrian Barbeau. At some point, I find a reference a James Bond movie or something.
Yeah.
You claim you've never seen Casino Royale. Is that true?
No, that's not true.
The Daniel Craig one?
Was that Mike? That may have been Mike. That wasn't me.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, how is that possible?
No. You know what? The one I've not seen yet, because it's still sitting on my shelf, is Spectre.
Spectre.
That's the one I haven't seen
yet. Well,
you
better get on it, because the new No Time to Die is coming out.
I will. Don't worry. I will.
You got
but this movie we're talking about is 1969's On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Now, this is the odd movie out of the James Bond series, and it is the only James Bond movie that's considered officially now, because I'm saying this because there's a series of books by Danny Peary called Cult Movies, volumes 1, 2, and 3, the only James Bond movie to feature in those books. Because, not surprisingly, it is the only movie to star George Lazenby as James Bond, who is not a name at all. He was not a name then, and he is not a name now.
Well, he's a footnote.
But now you only know him from this movie.
Right, correct. He was only 29 years old, by the way.
He was only 29.
That's crazy.
And taking over from Sean Connery, who that was at the time. Sean Connery was James Bond.
James Bond.
With cinematic moviegoers. That's like a misnomer. Moviegoers.
Well, it's good you be a moviegoer.
In the 60s, we're introduced to the character of James Bond, Sean Connery in the role. Yeah. So to replace him and his movies just burst box office records all over the world. Goldfinger, Thunderball was just a box office blockbuster on like a Star Wars type level for the 60s anyway.
So how many movies did Connery actually do?
5 before he left.
5. So that's pretty substantial.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, you're entrenched in it. That's like someone stepping in and playing Indiana Jones after
It is
Harrison
true.
Ford.
That is absolutely the correlation here. Yeah. So You Only Live Twice was the last of the 5 movies that Connery initially did.
Okay.
So he announced before filming ended that this was going to be his last James Bond movie. And You Only Live Twice was kind of a letdown in comparison to the movies that came before, because it was a little bit on the ridiculous side. It was moving more towards those Roger Moore, very much tongue-in-cheek movies with a lot of gadgetry that came later. And of course, you had Blofeld in his volcanic lair.
Dr. Evil.
Played by Donald Pleasance with the scar down his face, looking just like Mike Myers did in the Austin Powers. I still love it because it's a James Bond movie, but the quality was kind of dipping from Goldfinger to Thunderball to You Only Live Twice. And the box office was reflecting that. You Only Live Twice did not do as well as the previous Connery films. And then Connery, even during filming, was getting bored with the character.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but to a large degree, every one of these movies is really kind of just a remake of the previous one. Like,
it is.
There's a lot of the same thing. It's like episodic television. It just, after a while, it's the same villain. It's the same action sequences. It's the same, like, you're just eating off the original source material. You're not giving me anything new.
Now, the interesting thing is the On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the novel by Ian Fleming, was written in 1963 while the series was in full swing. So that was the year that From Russia with Love premiered, the film. And the novel came out, and it was one of Fleming's last Bond novels because he died, I believe, in that either 63 or 64.
I saw his house in Jamaica.
You did? Really?
Yes, when I was in Jamaica.
Goldeneye, I think, is the name of the house.
I believe that is.
Yes. Yeah, see, they were really digging the bottom of the barrel
I know.
For titles towards the end.
Well, that's why, this last one, at one point, the new Daniel Craig movie that's coming out was originally titled Shatterhand, and now they just went back and it's No Time to Die. And it's like, come on.
Now, I'm hearing Rami Malek, who played Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody, is the villain.
He is. You see him for like a split second in the trailer.
There is a lot of speculation that he's playing Dr. No in this movie.
But again, why?
Yeah.
Why can't we just have something new?
Yeah, it's
Come
true.
on.
If that's the case, it's really a reboot. So getting back to Secret Service, as early as 1964, they were thinking about doing On Her Majesty's Secret Service as a movie, because the book was such a success and it was such a great story that was going to be the movie that Connery was going to do after Goldfinger. But there was some rights issues going on with Thunderball. There was another producer who claimed to have the rights to Thunderball, the novel. And so he was fighting Broccoli and Saltzman, who were the de facto producers of the official Bond series. Albert Broccoli.
Greatest name ever.
For the movie rights. So they were faced with this decision. If they didn't do Thunderball right then and there,
they may have lost
the rights. So Thunderball became the movie after Goldfinger. So again, they were going to do On Her Majesty's Secret Service after Thunderball with Connery. But because the time of year that they were going to film, the Alps in Switzerland did not have enough snow coverage to their liking. So they had to push it back yet again. So they did You Only Live Twice. By that time, Connery was done, and they were faced with finding another James Bond for On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So there lies the entrance of one George Lazenby. It should be pointed out that this story of On Her Majesty's Secret Service does run separately. It breaks mold for the James Bond stories that you've seen before and that you've seen after, where they try to set up a real romantic relationship rather than just a one-off Bond girl. And so they try to really portray him as more of a human character than he was before. and part of doing that is taking away the gadgets from him. They really wanted to stay true to that in the movie. So that was what they were faced with making this movie. They wanted to stay true to the book, and they needed a James Bond to pull this off. They saw a lot of different actors, names of which I have never heard of before, never heard of since. There was one that was supposedly offered the role, and you know him quite well. Are we talking about Timothy Dalton?
Actually, I was referring to Batman himself, Adam West.
Adam West, really?
I did see, and I don't know if that's true, but I did see that apparently Adam West was offered the role.
Can you imagine him with his vocal cadences?
Well, that was probably right in the heyday of Batman.
Yeah, it was. Well, so he was just coming off of it, yeah.
Yeah, he would have carried that over. I don't think.
Now, it would have been an American James Bond. I can't see him doing
No, I don't know if he could have pulled that off.
But just imagine that. Blofeld, you are trying to take over the world. I do not see how that is going to be successful.
And the fact that there was no gadgets, it wouldn't.
Yeah, a 2.5-hour movie would have been 3.5 hours just from his dialogue alone.
Just the exasperated delivery. Although I would have loved to have seen him in that puffy pirate shirt.
Well, that would have been awesome. He is let me tell you, Lazenby is in the height of 60s fashion. In this movie.
This wears its 60s on its sleeve.
The Blu-ray, it almost hurt my eyes, some of the patterns in his suit.
And they knew how to throw a punch back then, man.
They did. Now, this is the 60s
overemphasized haymakers.
Now, that's how he won the role. Now, I'm just going to get into the story a little bit about how he became James Bond. An agent of his gave him the heads up that they were auditioning for James Bond in London. And he was in London as a model/actor in commercials. He was famous for being in a Fry chocolate ad that ran in England.
Alrighty.
So he was known in London as being the big Fry guy, because that's what they called this chocolate.
Fry guy.
So his agent tells him that there's an opening for James Bond. He immediately goes to Savile Row, which is where all the tailors are in London, and he goes to the tailor specifically that suited Sean Connery for Dr. No. And he asks the tailor, with whatever money he could scrounge together, please make me a suit like you did for Sean Connery. And the guy says, well, we do actually have a suit here that Connery never picked up for one of these movies.
That's crazy.
So he put the suit on, and then he goes to a barber shop to get a Sean Connery haircut before he goes into the audition. And who is sitting in the chair next to him but Albert Broccoli, the producer, in the barber shop. So you can't even make this up.
No, you can't make that up. That's ridiculous. That's crazy.
I don't think Lazenby knew who he was. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But Broccoli thought to himself, now this guy looks like James Bond. He's wearing the suit.
Funny.
He's got.
That's right.
So later on, he shows up at the audition. And of course, he becomes one of the front runners for the role just because of the way he looked.
He looked.
And what nailed him the role was the fight sequence, the test fight sequence. He had the Russian guy that's in the movie, that's one of Blofeld's henchmen. He ended up knocking the guy out accidentally,
got a little too close
in the fight sequence. And right there and then Broccoli was like, this is the guy. We're going with him. I guess he neglected to tell anybody he was not an actor. He was.
Hey, honey, guess what? I got a job today.
But at the same time, I think he does serviceably well.
I liked him. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not a diehard like Connery is my guy. I kind of came in Bond during the 70s, so Roger Moore. So a little more, and I really like Daniel Craig, and I like Pierce Brosnan too. I don't really. They each bring a different thing, to the table. But
Timothy Dalton, I thought, was a little bit too Shakespearean. He was.
I think he was overqualified. But you mentioned that before. Was he actually offered this at this time?
He was.
Timothy Dalton, he would have been really young.
He would have been, and I think that's what he thought as well. That he may have, I think, turned it down. Was the story that he didn't think that he would have serviced the role that well?
He said yes years later.
And get this, Roger Moore was actually considered back then, but he was scooped up by the Saint.
He was doing the Saint, yeah.
Which is the same thing that happened to Brosnan when he was first offered the role. He couldn't get out of his Remington Steele contract. Yeah. So
and both those characters kind of have that Bond swagger.
Yeah, they do. They're basically Bond on TV. Is both Remington Steele and the Saint.
Yep. Huh. Very cool.
So enter George Lazenby. So the producers, they realized they did not have a name actor and that they could not put his name above the title on the posters and people would come.
Great.
So they felt that they needed a name actress to act against him as his Bond girl. They first went for Brigitte Bardot.
Oh my gosh.
And they couldn't get her. I don't think she would have pulled it off. They needed an actress in this part, and I don't think that she.
Because she had to carry both of them.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Diana Rigg is you can't do.
Now, if you only know Diana Rigg from Game of Thrones,
I was gonna say you
are about to be in for the shock of your life.
Oh, dude, I was so in love with Emma Peel. She was on the Avengers. Watching those old episodes, holy Hannah, was she hot!
And that's pretty much why they chose her, because she had the recognition as Emma Peel with the audience.
She had appeal.
She had appeal.
Uphill.
And Bond was appealing something else off of her.
A
little later on.
I don't know, man. It took no time for her to sleep with him. And just like that, boom.
It did not. There we have George Lazenby, Diana Rigg, and then we get Telly Savalas as Blofeld. A complete about face from Donald Pleasance, who played him in the previous movie. No scar. He still has the cap, but he's like Blofeld from Brooklyn. That's how he kind of plays it.
And what is this like? He goes out of his way to explain that he's born without earlobes. Like, why would you even bring that up? Why does that become an issue? Oh, you'll never wear earrings. Sorry. Like,
because that's how his character in the movie Blofeld is trying to establish statusship of being a count in the movie, and he's trying to convince this heraldry organization that he is part of the bloodline because he has no earlobes, and the family, this royal family, is known for not having earlobes. It's just a very bizarre subplot.
It is a weird thing.
They actually had to pin back his earlobes to even get that subplot into the movie.
Did they just use staples?
I think they did. Yeah. That's a current with Scrooged.
There you go.
They had to staple those antlers onto the mouse and Scrooged.
Did you try staples?
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's kind of low key. Like, he's not like when we watched him in Terror Express, he was like ham.
Oh, he was chewing up that scenery. Yeah.
And even Kojak. This was pre-Kojak or probably during?
Oh yeah, pre-Kojak.
Was it Kojak? Okay.
I think Kojak was 70s. I didn't
know when or how long that show was on. Some of those old shows ran forever. But either Savalas is ridiculously short or Lazenby was incredibly tall. Because there was one scene and there was a huge height difference. I'm assuming that Telly Savalas is just a tiny little guy.
So we have our cast, and there were some plot points being discussed as how to introduce Lazenby to the audience. There was the plot of plastic surgery thrown up there. Like, well, maybe...
Oh, to explain why he looks different.
To explain why Blofeld doesn't recognize him.
Because he's already been... That's where these
They've already met, yes.
That's where these movies fall apart for me, because, again, you just keep rehashing the same characters, and it's like, you can't, like the Daniel Craig movies. Like you want to say, where does this fit in? But it doesn't. It's just its own thing.
There's not a lot of follow through because you have to watch each one as its own movie, really.
Right.
So without really thinking about the previous one, only vaguely do you think about the previous one.
Right.
But that's what they had to do here because if you notice in the opening credits,
which I miss. I miss those opening credits. A movie where you get all your credits up front, but there's no theme song.
There's no theme song because the title was so unwieldy. Nobody wanted to write a song
that makes sense.
titled On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So John Barry, who I think did the best Bond score out of all of them, doesn't matter if I think this is the best movie. This is hands down his best score for James Bond.
No.
He came up with a very powerful theme that they use in the opening titles that carries through the movie. And if you notice, that's the same theme that they played in The Incredibles, the original Incredibles trailer, same music, that John Barry theme. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So during those opening credits, they actually make it a point to show scenes from the previous Bond movies.
Gotcha.
With a motif of a clock turning backwards. So you know that this is, even though it's a different guy, it's the same character. It's the same series. You know, it's all supposed to carry through. So we open with that's actually, the titles come after our opening sequence.
Which I liked. I actually liked that opening sequence.
Yeah, of Bond seeing this character, Tracy, played by Diana Rigg for the first time. And apparently she's trying to kill herself on the beach.
Yeah, it's like, did she really need to be saved? I mean, maybe she was just enjoying the surf.
Yeah.
I don't know. He feels he's got to jump into the ocean and save this girl who doesn't really look like she needs to be saved. She's not drowning. She's just standing there in the water.
Fully clothed.
Yes. But I do, that fight sequence on the beach is pretty impressive.
Oh, it is. Now, and the cinematography on the beach is just mind-blowing, especially if you watch this in letterbox format.
The fight sequences, the choreography in this, because the cinematography, there's a lot of shortcuts, so it adds to like the freneticness of the action, and sometimes to the point where it's like it's a little too much. But
because the director of this movie is Peter Hunt, who was an editor on the previous James Bond movies.
Right.
So he was very much ingrained in that. The fight scenes have to be cut very close, and he actually speeds up the film in some spots.
You can see it
to make it more intense.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a 60s mentality, I guess.
Yes.
A kind of you know where it's coming from.
But Lazenby asserts himself more than adequately in this fight sequence because he's just the haymakers that he gives, the uppercuts. It's the full length of his arm that he just lunges into it.
It's the old school Captain Kirk punch.
Yeah.
You can't just punch. You got to like reach back. It's like you're on a slingshot.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
There's one point where the bad guy like leaps at him like out of nowhere,
like he came off a trampoline, right?
And just lands on his shoulders, and he just like a wrestler, he throws him right off. We know right up front that Lazenby is more than equipped to do the fight scenes in this movie, right from the first five minutes. And then you see Diana Rigg's character as he's distracted by fighting these guys off, who apparently we're either following him or following her. We don't really know.
No.
But she drives off in his car, back up to her car, and then she takes off without saying thank you, leaving him there standing with her shoes in his hands. And this is maybe the best line in the movie.
Absolutely. Yeah, because he breaks the fourth wall. He
breaks the fourth wall, looks right at the camera. This never happened to the other fella. And then
brilliant. I loved it. I was like, all right, I'm in.
Now, the very funny story, that came up on the day. That was not in the script. And the director, as they were filming, this opening sequence was the last thing that they filmed for the movie. Wow. So they still didn't really know how to properly introduce him to the audience at the beginning of the movie. So the director says, why don't you just say the thing that you've been telling me the entire filming of this movie? Like, whenever he had to do something he didn't want to do, I bet the other guy didn't have to do this.
That's funny.
I bet the other guy didn't have to do this.
That's great.
So they said, just say that. And then, looking at the commentary, he said it got a huge laugh every time in the theater. So, and it kind of broke the ice with the new act. So then we go into the main titles, and then we get into the story where Bond meets this girl again in the casino that he's bailed out of drowning, first of all. And then he bails her out of losing at cards because she has no money to pay for the
thanks him by bedding him down. Contessa, what's her name? Contessa
Teresa, I think her name
Tracy? Tracy? I thought they kept calling her Tracy.
But they call her Tracy for short. And there's another great fight scene where he goes to her room after she gives him her keys, and there's just a thug waiting there for him. And there's like another great little fight scene.
Yep.
Then he finally meets her in his room, smacks her around a little bit because
she likes.
Because he thinks that she set this guy off after him.
Yeah.
But she says, nope, that's not the case. But she still ends up betting her, and then she leaves him the money that he gave her. It transpires that, we're getting into the romance here of this story, that as he's checking out of the hotel, because she checks out even before he wakes up, so he wakes up to an empty bed the next morning. He checks out, and at gunpoint, some goons get him in a car and drive him to a location like a warehouse type place. And as they're going in, there's a midget sweeping up, whistling Goldfinger as they're
is that what?
That's what
get out
whistling.
of here.
Yeah.
So that's a little in-joke.
So there's all these throwbacks to the previous. They're just hitting you over the head that this is the same guy. It's it's all from the same series. So he beats up these guys really quickly. He goes through a door, and there's this old man sitting behind a desk, very distinguished Italian gentleman who introduces himself as Tracy's father, Diana Rigg. Now, he's brought him here because Tracy is a headstrong girl, and he feels that this is some sort of therapy for Tracy, that she's met this guy that can dominate her, as he says.
Just Draco, right? His name is Draco?
His name is Draco, and he is the leader of he's a leader of a crime syndicate.
Like a mob boss.
And the front of his crime syndicate is that he's into construction, but he's actually like an organized crime leader. So Bond knows who this guy is. But he's like, you do not know that I'm also Teresa's father. You need to dominate her like a man. And
it's such 60s mentality. And he offers him like $1 million dowry.
He's like, if you marry her, $1 million. And he's like, and he considers it for a second. He's like,
$1 million.
I'm a bachelor. No, this is not for me.
Yeah, have you seen any of my other movies?
Yeah. Right. But they make a deal. Bond has been chasing Blofeld, the guy with the cat, Dr. Evil, since the last movie. And he can't seem to find him. So much so that M fired him earlier in the movie. He got him off the case. Like, you can't find Blofeld. I'm assigning you somewhere else.
We're done.
So there's this neat little scene where Bond resigns because he's so angry. And he's going through his desk and he's looking at some of the gadgets from his previous movie.
Yeah, and he just happens to have an empty suitcase just waiting there to put his shit in.
Just in case, yep.
Yeah.
And then Moneypenny saves the day.
She just wants to get into his pants something fierce.
He asks her to write a resignation letter to give to M.
Yeah.
But she actually writes a leave request.
Which I thought was nice. 2-week leave.
And there's a wonderful scene after Bond thanks her. She says, you didn't really want to resign, did you? Then you hear M on the intercom also thanking her because he's heard the whole conversation.
Right. But at one point, he's drinking from a flask, which is very un-Bond-like.
Right.
I don't think you ever see him with a martini.
Yeah, and you've never seen him in his office before either, in any of these movies where he
he definitely wasn't wearing a tux.
No.
Like those signature tuxedos, nothing.
No, just had that Jerry Seinfeld ruffled
yeah,
shirt.
Not only once, but twice he had a puffy shirt.
With a kilt, no less.
Puffy pirate shirt number 2. Yeah. Hey, don't be knocking the kilt.
Right.
My mom made me a kilt when I was in school.
No, I'm saying he looks pretty good in that kilt. Yeah.
That chick wrote her name on the inside of his thigh. I'm like, what is going on here? She wrote her room number.
So we get into this deal that Bond makes with Draco, Tracy's father. Bond agrees to see Tracy again if Draco gives Bond Blofeld's whereabouts. And they do. Bond is supposed to meet Draco at his birthday because Tracy always shows up every year for his birthday. So there's an awkward meet and greet because Tracy knows that something is up. And it's at a bull ring, which should be on America's Funniest Home Videos because
that was Ole!
So Tracy is very upset that her father has made a deal with her as the prize.
Yeah, wouldn't you be?
Yes. So she runs out, and then Bond chases after her, wipes the tears away from her face.
Cut to a love montage.
A love montage, a beautifully filmed love montage.
With Louis Armstrong
Louis Armstrong, yes.
Oh, yeah.
We have all the time. And
Yeah,
So
and you're like, oh, this can only end in tragedy.
So
you just know it.
They're frolicking on the beach. It looks like they're walking through a cigarette ad at one point. They're on horseback. So by the time this 3-minute montage is over, they are in love. So, you don't know how much time is going by. Yeah. Maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a month, who knows. But the next scene is that Draco has found out where Bond can figure out how to get Blofeld. And it's at this lawyer's office in Switzerland. So he's got to go in and crack this safe while the guy's out to lunch. And there's like a countdown going on because he only has an hour. And he's got this 60s Xerox safe cracker machine. Hooks it up to the safe. And as he's waiting for the safe to be cracked, he's looking through the magazines there, and there's a Playboy in there. So of course he's going to look at the Playboy.
He took the centerfold.
He took the centerfold.
He takes the centerfold.
So this is a pretty long setup for this movie.
This is a long movie. This is a 2.5 hour movie, by the way.
For the longest time, it was the longest of the Bond movies until I think Casino Royale, and then they just all were over 2 hours. That was just the way. But they set up that Blofeld got himself situated high up in the Alps. And he's trying to get the world to recognize his title of a Duke of something or other.
Duke of Chutney?
Yes. So he's trying to get the London College of Arms, a genealogy expert, to come up to Switzerland to prove that Blofeld is this count that he's claiming that he is. So Bond sees all this in the secret papers in this guy's safe, and he decides to pose as the genealogist and go up to the Alps himself.
Which is genius.
Genius, yes. This is where the movie really kicks into its story. This is where it gets
An hour later.
So Bond goes to Switzerland. He meets up with Irma Bunt, who is this, who looks like Ursula from The Little Mermaid, pretty much.
She's just missing the two pet eels.
It's like a German Ursula who meets him down at the station, and then they go up via helicopter, and there's these breathtaking shots of the Alps as the helicopter's moving up towards Blofeld's mountain hideaway. And they finally get there, and it's called Piz Gloria. Now, this is interesting because this was a restaurant that they were building up there. And the filmmakers, they were having a hard time finding a real-life location of where to stage Blofeld's hideaway. So, doing a helicopter sweep over the Alps, they see this building up there. They're like, what's that?
It's very impressive. It is very it is like your quintessential mountain hideaway bad guy resort.
And you can only get to it via cable car. It's just got one cable car lead going in. You can't get to it any other way because it's on this very precipitous, giant mountain peak. What it was a restaurant being built, a revolving restaurant, no less. So the filmmakers, in order to use it, they agreed to finish the construction on the restaurant, and they needed to build a helicopter port in order for the helicopter. So they built that whole thing up, and it still exists today.
Gloria,
as the James Bond restaurant. That's what
cool.
It is.
So it's in Switzerland.
In Switzerland, yes. So that is one of my bucket list things to do, is to go to that restaurant. Oh, I would probably you couldn't get me out of there once I was up there.
Right?
So Bond disguises himself as Sir Hilary Bray, the genealogist. He goes up to this restaurant, and what does he discover? The first thing, as he's taking the tour of Blofeld's hideaway, is this bevy, this harem of beautiful women, beautiful young girls from all over the world. Now, what Blofeld has done has disguised this hideaway as an allergy research center. And he's curing these girls who all have different allergies. Most of them, they seem to be food allergies. And as Jeff said before, the first night that Bond is there, he's eating dinner with all these girls. And one girl who's especially Cockney, who's Ruby Bartlett from Lancashire, she sits right next to him. And as they're eating dinner, you see under the table, she lifts his kilt just a little bit and in lipstick writes her room number on his inner thigh. And there's an expression on his face as she's doing this. And Irma Bunt says, something wrong, Sir Hilary? And one of the best lines in the movie, just a slight stiffness coming on.
Do you know the little behind the scenes on that scene itself? Is that before they filmed it, they stuck a sausage in his down there?
No, so I didn't know that.
And they said that she never flinched. She never, reacted to it whatsoever.
like as a joke. So when she went in and
like
did
a Vienna sausage or something down in there, just to see if it would get a reaction from her. Apparently not.
Apparently not. No.
Lazenby. Oh, hello.
So Lazenby, he is trying his hardest to stay undercover as Sir Hilary Bray in his room a little bit later, but he's looking at his leg in room number 8, and he can't help himself.
No, of course not, because he's Bond after all.
He's locked in his room in this, but he manages with like a little MacGyver trick with an eraser and a ruler. He gets out of his room. He goes to Ruby's room. I think he's been trying to give the impression that he's gay as Sir Hilary Bray. But like each of these women are so beautiful that they're turning him to the other side.
He's being.
But I do have to admit that on the Blu-ray, I had never noticed this before, but it's the only nip slip that I have ever seen in a James Bond movie.
Really?
And it is Ruby during one of the scenes with them in bed.
Huh.
So I think you can only notice it on the Blu-ray. So he visits Ruby and gets some info about what Blofeld is doing up there, and he actually sees her going into a hypnotic trance as Blofeld's voice comes over the loudspeakers. You will learn to love chickens, their voice, their beaks, their flesh.
What is going on here?
And as he goes back to his room, there's another girl from that's been waiting for him, and so he sleeps with her too.
Just throwing themselves at him.
So, of course, he's Bond. So, as time goes on, there's a great scene when Bond goes back to Ruby's room, and he's going over to the bed. He takes the covers off, and it's not Ruby, but it's old hag Irma Bunt there. And his line is, "Fancy meeting you here, Fräulein."
Fräulein.
And that's when, boom, he gets hit over the head. And that's where the Christmas aspect comes in. He comes to and he's staring at a Christmas tree because apparently it's Christmas Eve. So Blofeld now knows that Bond is who he is.
Right.
You know, it's like, hey, this is the guy from the previous movie.
Right, correct. Yeah. It's never happened to the other guy.
And then he gives him his whole spiel. He monologues at this point. Now, what he's actually planning on doing is these girls, he's not really curing them of their allergies. What he's doing is he's hypnotizing them into bringing back into society with them once they leave the research center vials of this poison or chemical or something that's going to cause infertility in plants and animals.
To all, yeah.
So he's going to send the UN a sample of this, and unless they give him amnesty of all his past crimes and recognition of his title, that he will destroy the food supply of the world. That is his plot. And he's going to use these girls, these angels of death, to do it. So that's where the movie kicks into high gear, I think. From the skiing section, it just doesn't stop. The last 45 minutes is just action upon action upon action.
Now, was this the first time that we saw like any kind of like? Because it seems to me that there's at least, I know definitely in The Spy Who Loved Me there's a skiing scene.
Oh yeah, there is. And it's the same skiing expert they used for Secret Service. Willie Bogner, the guy comes back and doubled as Bond in The Spy Who Loved Me. But this was the first movie where it was you see Bond skiing.
Gotcha. But it's a little dated, you know, because you got the guy skiing and then you got the close-ups that you can tell it's just blue screen behind him.
Right.
And it's really horrible.
Yeah. But the actual skiing shots are really impressive.
Oh, yeah. At one point,
real
he's on one ski, and it's like, you know, as a skier, like 2 skis are hard enough.
Yeah.
On one leg has got to be ridiculous.
But I love when the goons are chasing him on the skis, and each of them they're skiing into trees.
Yeah. And
they're calling each other idiot as they're.
Yeah, right. As they're. And I like the fact that Blofeld, like, he just has a skin-colored cap on, so it still looks like he's bald.
So you could tell him easily.
You can tell which one it's him, right?
Now, there's another scene where Bond, he stops skiing at one point, and he's hiding right by a precipice, right? So right by a cliff. So another guy comes down, one of the henchmen comes down. There's a fight between the henchman and Bond. Bond throws him over the cliff, and it's such a Wile E. Coyote fall down this cliff.
See him going.
The guy falls for like 5 minutes until he hits the ground.
It's that is straight up Wile E. Coyote. You just wanted to see the little puff at the end.
And you see it. He puffs into the smoke.
In the snow.
And then Bond, and here is where I think Lazenby really rises to the occasion, because Bond makes his way down to the town, which is having its Christmas Eve celebrations. There's a giant ice rink, and there's all this fireworks going on and everything else as the goons are chasing him. And he's actually frightened, like, as he's running through this crowd. Like, you couldn't imagine Sean Connery or anybody else showing fear from being chased. Like, those James Bonds always had it under control, no matter what scenario that they were in. But there's one scene where Lazenby, like, he's looking behind him, and then he turns, and then he runs right into a polar guy in a polar bear outfit.
Yeah.
He actually is like yells, like, "Whoa!" It looks like they're closing in on him. He sits down, and who skates right up to him?
Yeah.
But Tracy. Her father has told her where he is. So she's been hanging out in this town to look for any traces of her James. So they get into her Mustang. They take off.
And I love the screeching sounds in the snow.
Yeah. But there's a great car chase where it's like just the freshly plowed roads with just snow going up 7 feet on either side of the car.
On either side, yeah.
So they only have inches of give that they have to maneuver their cars through. They go into a demolition derby at one point, which is a fun
which
scene.
was fun. That was fun. I thought I saw Herbie the Love Bug there too.
Or at least a three.
Something, yeah.
So then Bond and Tracy, they lose the bad guys in the demolition derby, and then they find a barn to bed down in for the night.
Yeah, because the storm comes. That was like the storm of the century. Just comes in. It was like literally from like Year Without a Santa Claus. It just blows in. And like, well, I guess we gotta just make some hay here. And
so and as the animals are nuzzling each other in this barn, Bond and Tracy are sitting there. She asks him what went on in the tower, and diplomatically, he says, "Well, her Secret Service is still my job," without actually saying, I slept with.
I banged a bunch of these chips. Meanwhile, my wife was watching this with me last night, and she was completely enamored with his M-shaped lips. She kept saying, "Look at his lips; they're like a perfect M."
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
And he's got that Kirk Douglas cleft in his chin as well.
Yes, yeah.
It's almost like watching, like Cary Grant or some old-time movie actor,
Yeah, the chiseled look, the very put together.
But he pulls off this scene, I think, beautifully, where he proposes to Tracy. Because you kind of understand, okay, he's in this predicament. He's not liking his job very much at the moment.
Right.
That he knows what he's giving up because he's just slept with these three women. And but like this girl has come and rescued him. And so she's kind of his match in most cases. And
yeah, she's definitely not a damsel in distress.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
and of course,
she's very strong.
You've already had that montage, so you know that there's something going on between with them. Right. So he proposes marriage, and it is quite a moving scene.
You're like, what?
Yep. And there's a nice joke where he says, "My New Year's resolution is for us not to make love until our wedding night." But then he said, "Oh, it's not New Year's yet." And
right. And they make love.
Yep. So, and then of course you see the horses nuzzling as the camera.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I don't know if you've ever laid down in a hay barn, but hay is the most uncomfortable thing in the world. Let alone if you were sans clothes.
Even for James Bond, I'm sure.
Yeah,
even for James Bond.
No, you got some serious chafing going on there the next day.
So then there's another ski chase. After the next morning, they leave the barn on skis, trying to get to somewhere civilized so they can call for help. But Blofeld's men are right on them, right again. And there's a great scene where they all jump over this snowblower that's blowing a road, except for one hapless henchman. Who falls into the snowblower? Then you see all the red fountain.
Yeah,
coming
this is like Fargo was all over this. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna take that," and he goes, "Oh, he had a lot of guts." And then we have an avalanche. I want to know, is there? I guess there's just like stock photography of avalanches.
No, they filmed this. They actually set bombs off to film an avalanche. They triggered it.
That's not.
Of course, they made sure that it was a isolated area where it wasn't going into a forest or anything.
I understand that, but you can't control that once it goes.
Yeah, I know.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
That's what they said, that the crew that was present for that were actually frightened because they were at the bottom of this thing.
Rightfully so.
They didn't think that it was going to trigger as big of an avalanche as they got, but it was pretty impressive.
Okay, we just needed a little avalanche.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone didn't tell the mountain.
But they said the entire mountain came down.
Right.
And So, but it looks great on film at the same time.
It sure does. That's ridiculous. That's irresponsible.
So Bond and Tracy both somehow survive. Blofeld kidnaps Tracy, brings her back to the lair, while Bond makes it back to London. And he is very upset, but M will not have any of this going up there and charging the hideaway, because Bond is like, we can destroy him and then he won't be able to control the girls who are going to unleash this chemical. It's like, nope, the United Nations wants to pay him off. We're not going to risk it.
We're just going to fall back into his
And he's like, well, what about the girl that helped me? It's like, this department does not care about your personal problems, as I think is.
Wow.
So he calls Tracy's father, who, of course, once he finds out that Tracy is up there, Draco and all of his goons go up in helicopters to attack Blofeld. So it's an epic ending while they're playing the James Bond theme.
I know, when the theme finally kicks in, you're like, there it is.
Yep.
Yeah,
they're blowing up the cable car. They blow up the facility. There's a great fight scene between Diana Rigg and the big Russian guy that's Blofeld's main henchman. Yep. And she ends up impaling him on some decorative thing.
Bobsled action going on.
You get some bobsled action, yes.
Yeah. At one point, he throws his gun in. I'm like, ooh, you hardcore.
Then we have the final mano-a-mano battle between Bond and Blofeld, as Bond is chasing him throughout his lair until finally they get to the bobsled run, which is right outside of the lair, and there's a great bobsled chase. Again, it's a little bit marred by that hokey back-screen projection.
Right, they up close, but still, But at this point, you're in. You're in.
But when you see some of that real-life stunt work going on, especially there's one part where Blofeld throws a grenade, Bond's bobsled goes right over it as it explodes, and you just see the Bond as like a rag doll get thrown right out of that bobsled, and you know that's a real guy. It's not a dummy. So then there's a great fight where Bond finally makes it onto Blofeld's bobsled. They fight each other, and then Blofeld gets almost decapitated by a low-hanging branch.
Oops.
And of course, there's that line, he's branched off.
Because you can't.
So then we get into the end of the movie, the shocker of the movie, where Bond and Tracy are back in Portugal, I think it was, is where they filmed this thing. And Bond makes good on his word, and there's a big wedding scene at the end of the movie.
And you keep waiting.
And we have the whole of Bond's office is in attendance. MQ, who's been really relegated to the sidelines.
I was going to say, I don't think you even saw Q up to that point.
No, because there's no gadgets.
Right, no gadgets.
There's a joke in the beginning where Q has developed radioactive lint as like a GPS tracker, which is brushed aside immediately. Yeah. And then poor Moneypenny at the end, who is just there left holding his hat because he's heartbroken that he's getting married, and it's not to her. They drive off into the sunset, and Bond, cannot have a happy ending. They are not going to let this stand.
No, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Yeah. And he says, we have all the time in the world. Yeah.
And they pull over. He pulls over to take the flowers off their car, and who comes rolling up but Blofeld with a neck brace, no less. And Irma Bunt in the back seat with a machine gun. They fire on the car. Bond jumps back in to give chase, and he realizes Tracy's been shot right through the head, and she falls right into his lap. A motorcycle cop comes riding up. Doesn't say a word. I guess he's just,
He's used to seeing bullet-riddled cars every day.
Yes. And Lazenby, with tears in his eyes, is like, we've got all the time in the world. And then he sobs, he puts his head down and he sobs. And it is devastating. It's very hard. It's coming. Heartfelt. Even if you've never seen this before, it's coming. She cannot live by the end of this movie.
Right.
But it's still, he pulls it off. And I don't know if Connery could have done it the same way. He's extremely vulnerable as an actor. And I think that's what they were trying to get at, is that
humanizing.
He was very unsure of himself as an actor in this movie.
Right.
And the director, I think, capitalized on that. So he was vulnerable in that scene. And I think he pulled it off maybe better than a more seasoned actor would have been. That's an arguable point, but that's my take on it.
I enjoyed it. I liked it. That was very enjoyable.
Now, I can't tell you the first time that I saw this. I've been a James Bond fan back from when they were showing Dr. No, Goldfinger, Thunderball on HBO all those years ago.
Right.
And I think the first contemporary Bond movie that really struck me was The Spy Who Loved Me, because of Jaws, Richard Kiel as Jaws.
Yeah, he was a great villain.
And Roger Moore is just so likable in that character. He had the humor, he was debonair. I still rate Roger Moore very highly as James Bond because he was my first. That's the first James Bond that I knew of.
Yeah.
And then Moonraker after that.
Yes, I was going to say Moonraker kind of, seeing him in that spacesuit on the cover of Starlog.
Yeah.
Was like, because right there was the height of Star Wars. Everyone was jumping on that bandwagon.
Yep. And that was the same summer that Alien was out in the theater.
Yeah, you had me as a kid. I'm like, I'm in. I'll watch this.
Now, Moonraker is
Holly Goodhead
is a ludicrous movie. It is so stupid to watch it now, but as a kid watching that,
hell yeah, the anaconda scene. I had the training. I probably still have the trading card set.
Yeah,
the space shuttle was just like that. We were going into space. Yeah. So they jumped on that. It was great.
Bond,
it was awesome.
Yeah. All the advertising was wrapped around Bond in space.
In space, yeah. Which doesn't really happen until the last like 5 minutes. But yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Moonraker, but that is, for better or for worse, that was probably my introduction to James Bond.
And I'll never forget that line that Q has at the very end when the space shuttle is coming back into the atmosphere. And Q says something to the effect, "Oh, he's ready for re-entry." And you see them. And you see him and Holly Goodhead floating, like with a sheet over them in the
the double entendre.
So I was primed as a little kid, to love these movies. And ABC, once HBO kind of stopped showing them, ABC would show them as a movie of the week every once in a while. And they'd make a big deal about it. There'd be like a double page spread on the TV guide. Yeah. They'd show Thunderball. They'd show Goldfinger. I had read a couple of James Bond books I'd taken out of my school library, so I knew all the movies. And there was this one called On Her Majesty's Secret Service with this guy I've never heard of that they'd never showed on HBO. They'd never showed it on ABC. I'm like, I wonder if I'll ever get to see this movie. Is it just going to exist in legend?
Right.
Finally, when maybe I was 11 or 12, ABC deemed it worthy of airing. And it was, I think, over the winter break. And I watched it, and I was enamored with it. I watched it beginning to end, and I loved this guy. I thought he was I didn't understand why he never was James Bond again. And over the years, then the movies finally came out on VHS. That was the first one that I bought, and I watched it year in, year out, every Christmas. And I was so smug and self-satisfied that nobody else knew about this movie.
That was like your own secret little James Bond
me.
world.
It was my movie, and it was a James Bond movie. Right?
I mean, we all, we know the story of, the standalone George Lazenby. It's almost a joke. Yeah. But so why did Connery come back?
He did, yeah.
Right.
It's so sad because, everybody that's in the commentary and on the bonus features of the discs that I watched said that it was just such a shame that Lazenby, he wasn't in the right frame of mind. He was too young to take on this responsibility because he ended up pissing a lot of people off on set, the producers included, with some of his behavior. Just because he was young,
really?
Right?
Just young? Well, I read
full of himself.
That Rig hated him. To the point where she would eat garlic before their love scenes.
Well,
right?
that story was a little bit taken out of proportion because there was a member of the press there one day, and there was a love scene that they were getting ready for, and she joked over the commissary, jokingly yelled over to him, "Hey George, I'm eating garlic. You better eat some too." And then the press picked that up, saying that she did it purposely.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
And but what happened is towards the end of filming, Lazenby, there was a couple of instances where he really upset the producer. Before the movie wrapped, kind of was in his ear saying, this James Bond thing is really on its way out. Look at Easy Rider. Look at all these counterculture movies. You're gonna be seen as square if you keep doing these James Bond movies.
He was doing him a favor. Huh?
So the agent after that announced that Lazenby would never do another Bond picture. I think he was not only hoping that they would offer him more money with that announcement,
right,
but that if he did in fact leave, that he would be set up as a leading man because he's James Bond in this movie. Yeah. So the opposite happened. Lazenby was blacklisted, and he never worked again outside of like Hong Kong action pictures. Huh. So, and he says Lazenby is all over these bonus features, and he's saying, to this day I tell myself I should have done at least 2, because he was ready to sign a 7-picture deal before his agent made that announcement. Wow. And they yanked it right out from under him. So,
yoinks.
So he would have just think about it. He would have been all the way through The Spy Who Loved Me. That would have been George Lazenby as James Bond.
Huh. Wow. And this was like the second highest grossing movie of the year, so it was well received.
Yeah, and it did not do the dollars that Goldfinger and Thunderball did, so it was a disappointment in that regard. But
Gotcha.
it only cost $7 million to make, and it made $80 million in box office receipts. So it was a hit. They made their money back and some. Still, it is the black sheep of the Bond family.
Yeah. Huh.
But yeah, like I said, he's got that Cary Grant, very likable, like swagger to him.
Yeah, no.
And yeah, I think he is, in some ways, he does have his superiorities to the Bonds that came before and after. And I don't know if Sean Connery would have been the same as in this movie.
No, I agree with you there. Cool. Well,
so there you have it. I would like to induct this now.
Ooh, you're going 5.
I'm going 5 bucket. This is my favorite movie of all time. So if any,
I am not arguing with you on that.
Yeah, if any, I am going to put it right now in the 5 bucket. So I am sorry if I am offending you with this, but I think it has to be done.
I guess there are the detractors out there that don't deem this very highly.
Yes, there are.
Because it does deviate from the norm of a cocksure character.
Now, there are a lot of people that say that we think that this is one of the best Bond movies, but we hate George Lazenby. I think it goes hand in hand. It's like, how can you say it's one of the best?
Right, but not like the lead actor.
Yeah.
Because he does carry it, and it's its own thing, better for worse.
So 5 bucket. 5 bucket on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Now, you enjoyed it, right?
I did.
You're not a Bond guy.
Well, I'm not saying that I'm not a Bond guy. Like, I'll definitely go and watch this new Daniel Craig movie because I do like him in that role, but I didn't grow up like all things Bond. Mm-hmm. I backtracked and, like I said, Moonraker was kind of like the gateway drug in. So the more serious Connerys, I don't hold him as in high regard as some of the other ones that came later, even though he was the original.
Any standout scenes for you?
The skiing scenes, the whole, like I said, the fight scenes in the surf at the beginning really was like, all right, this is, it was fun. I liked it. Give you a little bit of everything. 2.5 hours, a little too long, but.
Yeah, it is that they could have done with an editor, I think, at the beginning of this movie. They could have lost some scenes easily.
Right.
But I think it more than makes up for it with the barrage of action at the end.
Yeah. No, it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
And then when you get into the end, it just goes.
So before we get into our next Christmas feature, I pulled some vintage Christmas ads that you may find familiar. So let's play these, and then we'll get right into it.
Fireplaces glowing, icicles growing, hearts overflowing with cheer. It's that wonderful season we all find some reason. The Toys R Us time of year. World's biggest toys R Us. World's biggest selection. Toys R Us. It's the Toys R Us time in the Toys R Us.
Season's greetings. I am the Invisible Man. You may be planning an old-fashioned Christmas as I am, but that doesn't mean you have to use old-fashioned cellophane tape. Note how shiny it looks on the gift wrap, while Scotch Magic transparent tape keeps packages pretty. It's virtually invisible. So do your own disappearing act with Scotch brand Magic transparent tape. It's magic.
It was Christmas Eve in McDonald land. Everyone was asleep except Ronald, who had other plans. Out of his bed, he silently crept.
Cuckoo! What are you doing, Ronald?
Shh! I'm giving McDonald's gift certificates to all my friends.
So Hamburglar can get a hamburger.
And Grimace.
Is it Christmas yet?
Not yet.
Grimace can get a shake. Christmas.
Captain Crook, fillet of fish.
And the mayor, he'd get a cheeseburger.
So to the chimney Ronald did reach.
You can get them at McDonald's, 50 cents each.
When suddenly bright light shined in his eyes, Ronald turned around amazed and surprised.
Hi, guys. I make too much noise?
All his friends had a present for him.
McDonald's gift certificates for me? Oh, gee. And a Merry Christmas to all of you from all of us at McDonald's. Merry Christmas.
Okay, we're back, and our second feature is Jeff's pick. So, Jeff, take it away.
We are going with my favorite Bill Murray movie of all time, Scrooged, 1988.
Now that's saying something. You got Groundhog Day, you got Ghostbusters, but this trumps.
You know what? I think he's got a bigger range in this movie. You really don't like him. You enjoy watching him be a jerk, but by the end of the movie, obviously, you know, we all know the story of A Christmas Carol, and you know how Ebenezer Scrooge sees the error of his ways. But this is, is it a spoof? It's not really. It's a retelling, but it's its own thing. You know, we get the Ghost of Christmas Past and Christmas Future, but I really just enjoy this. And the ensemble cast, you know, you're talking Bobcat Goldthwait and probably the height of his career.
I completely forgot that he was in this.
Oh, I loved him. And I liked him in this.
You know what I would have loved? He should have been more Bob Cratchit. I would have liked to have seen his family and
yeah. I don't think he had a family. He talked about him.
He said that his girlfriend left him, right? Or his wife left him. Right? But he was normal at the beginning when he was on the board and he was speaking.
Oh yeah, no, right. And then he kind of goes into that Bobcat character.
Yeah.
Not to the extent of Police Academy,
no,
where he's just straight up like. I actually really liked him a lot in One Crazy Summer too. But yeah, Richard Donner directed this thing, and I guess Donner's got a thing for Christmas because I mean this is a straight up Christmas movie, and wasn't Lethal Weapon that took place in Christmas?
It did, yeah.
Right? Opens right up with Jingle Bell Rocks.
Yeah, there's a long and inspired history of Christmas quote-unquote movies.
Die Hard.
Secret Service being one of them. Die Hard.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
It's got that background going on.
Yeah, but this was like 31 years ago. This is crazy.
Insane.
It is insane because I do remember seeing this in the theater. And
so did I.
Yeah, but right up front, you're kind of, you know, it's a television production company, IBC, and you've seen the promos leading into some of their Christmas stuff, and that's the highlight.
That's the highlight of the movie for me.
It starts right out with the night the reindeer died, and it's Santa Claus. They're being, you know, the terrorists are taking over Santa's workshop. And in comes Lee Majors, and you're like, I mean, that dates it a little bit, but it's fun. Everyone at this point
playing himself, no less. Yes. And let me point this out: the gun that he has is Old Painless from Predator, the same prop.
Oh, get out of here!
It is.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, this was 88. So yeah, that was 87, the year before.
Yep.
So right, and he says, you know, his line of dialogue is there a back door to this? This is one Santa who goes out the front door. It's just. And then you see a commercial for Father Loves Beaver, which is just, and they cut, you know, so it's a boardroom.
He's out chasing beaver again.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, IBC, you will love it. You will with the YULE, and it's a corporate meeting. They're going and.
Let me also point out the Cajun Christmas ad with Bob.
Oh
Goulet,
yeah, Robert Goulet. Yeah,
being chased by the crocodile.
So right up front, you know that you're not getting a straightforward movie. That this is going to be a little tongue in cheek.
And it's got a dark streak throughout.
Oh,
it well.
It is dark. It is dark. But again, like I said, you know, you're introduced to Frank Cross, which is the Bill Murray character, and he's just a jerk. He's a complete and utter jerk. And I think at one point we've all worked for this guy. So some of us may still be working with Oh, but yes. Right, so we're in the boardroom, and after the promos, he just turns and goes, oh my gosh, does that suck? But yeah, they're going to do a live production of Christmas Carol called Scrooge.
Right, which is very much foretelling that's very much.
I was just going to say, that's what we're getting now with all of these
every holiday season, there's another live broadcast.
Yeah, so they were very prescient in that regard. But, you know, to get John Houseman, Mary Lou Retton, Jamie Farr, Buddy Hackett, and yeah, I mean, there's some old school names there. The Solid Gold Dancers.
And Buddy Hackett in vintage Little Mermaid mode, because that was right around that time, right?
True. I forgot that he was even in that. Yeah, so obviously if it was remade today, they probably would have replaced Mary Lou Retton with Simone Biles. But other than that, it holds up. It definitely holds up. It's a fun movie. I haven't seen it in a while, and I did get the Blu-ray, so it was nice and crisp and clean.
Nice.
But yeah, Elliot Loudermilk, that was Bobcat Goldthwait's character.
Now, the entire Murray clan.
They're all in it. Oh, look, it's his brother playing his brother.
Yeah. Brian Doyle Murray, John
Yep.
Murray, Joel Murray. They're all in there.
I like the fact Brian Doyle played his father in the flashbacks, right?
Yes,
Dad, I
he
want a
did.
choo-choo for Christmas. I got you 5 pounds of veal. But I want a choo-choo. Then go out and get a job. So yeah, I mean, it's really just your retelling of this character. But we did talk about Karen Allen. So I don't know. You want to go through the plot?
Well, it's a Christmas Carol. That's
Right,
basically, he's
right.
visited by 3 ghosts. He's visited by the Marley of the movie first,
Yes.
which is a great makeup job.
Yes.
That's a very creepy looking.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'll say is that it, like you said, it's dark. So there's some disturbing images in here.
But they try to temper it with the goof of the golf ball coming out of
golf
his head
ball,
and the mouse. But then he takes the glasses off and he's got no eyes, and it's unsettling to look at.
Yeah.
I don't know if his name is Marley. I doubt it, but that's the Marley character in the movie.
Correct. Lee Hayward, because that was John Forsythe.
John Forsythe, yes. So he plays his old boss and warning him to change his ways, and he's going to get visited by 3 spirits that night. And he never ties it in that this is it's a correlation to the Scrooged show that he's actually showing on his...
It's like a spoof within a spoof kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first we get the Ghost of Christmas Past, played brilliantly by David Johansen, otherwise known as Buster Poindexter. But I love him as the lead singer of the New York Dolls, who was in the David Bowie era glam outfit from the early 70s. But does a great job. I love it when he goes through the front door of his old house, and then and he's like, "Well, come on," and he walks right into the door.
Gotcha. Works every time. Yes.
And so we have him as the Ghost of Christmas Past, and he sees all of his failings that his parents made him as a child, and it gives a little indication of why he is the way he is. Now, then we get into a little bit later, the Ghost of Christmas Past brings him to the set of a TV show where he's playing the mascot, like a big dog.
Frisbee the dog, yeah.
Frisbee the dog.
Yep.
And it's a Christmas Eve, and his boss at the time is telling him that he sees big things happening for him, that he's got to come out to a Christmas Eve dinner with such and such and such and such, and it could mean great things. Karen Allen's character of Claire shows up. But we're going to have Christmas dinner with our friends. Yeah. Now, I think Claire should cut him some slack. He's dressing up as a dog for his job.
Right.
He's going to get a promotion if he goes to this dinner.
I think she was happy with him at that point.
You're giving him, you're giving him grief for not going with...
Right, friends.
Yes.
Claire's the downfall for everything here.
I know.
Come on, Lumpy.
So then we have the Ghost of Christmas Past. Then we get the Ghost of Christmas Present.
She kills it.
Which
literally
is Carol Kane.
Carol Kane,
from Taxi fame, playing like a fairy godmother type character who does nothing but smack him and hit him with toasters and
hit me with a toaster.
But that is the highlight. She kind of steals all the scenes.
Oh, she does. She is just she's like high on sugar rush. Pixie dust probably.
She shows him his assistant, played by Alfre Woodard.
Grace.
Her apartment during Christmas. And now she's got a son, which is the equivalent of Tiny Tim, who has not spoken since his father died. So he's a very insular little boy. He gets a vision of him a little bit later in an asylum with his mother visiting him. So that's kind of the tipping point to get him to really see the error of his ways. But before we get there, there's a lot of where he thinks that these are hallucinations. So he's on set, like acting like a crazy person, while this guy that his boss has hired from LA to oversee the production with him is really smugly thinking that he's going to take over his job. Now, and he is played by John Glover, who, if you've ever watched Smallville, who plays Lex Luthor's father, like a real scumbag type character. So, and he's very good at that. I think he's got that smarmy look to him that, especially with that flop of hair, you just like, like, look at this guy's hair.
Yeah, Bryce Cummings, I think the character's name was. Yeah.
Yes. And then we get into the final stretch of the movie, which is the Ghost of Christmas Future, which is done. There's a great scene where the ghost is kind of manifesting itself over the TV screens in Murray's office.
Yeah, very cool.
And it's almost you see the face under the hood, and it's almost like that same type of face that you saw in Evil Dead 2, like when the demons are like the whited out eyes and the exaggerated skull. And they're frightening sequences. So
and that hand comes through, the giant hand comes.
And leads him out. Then he sees that scene in the asylum with
but they're in the elevator, and he goes, because at first he's like, "Our boys, is this our boys' work?" Like he didn't even, whether or not he's really talking to something that's not there. And then he opens up the cloak, and there's just all these demon souls like inside the rib cage screaming.
Which I'll always remember because seeing that music video with Annie Lennox and Al Green played over and over and over again. That was one of the scenes that they played. But he finally sees the error of his ways because he sees a vision of his brothers, or his brother and his wife and their friends at a funeral. And they're at a crematorium. And it turns out that the body in the casket is his own. And then all of a sudden, he's in the casket, burning. Which is a great scene. His feet are burning.
Yeah.
And for anybody that's claustrophobic, that maybe hits a little bit too close to home.
Yeah.
He wakes up out of that a changed man. And so then he goes off on a monologue on camera live.
Which was great because the show's going live. And that's, that to me, that speech is like, I don't know if anyone else could kind of pull that off because he's got that manic.
Yeah. And
that realization that he does have something to live for and that he's made mistakes and he can be a better man. And he's talking to the audience directly. To me, that's the brilliance of this movie.
Yeah, and I think he's going off script. It seems ad-libbed, that scene.
Well,
it seems like it's from the heart.
The whole scene where he breaks the fourth wall and he starts talking to the audience in the theater, when they're singing, he goes, "You over there, you start singing." Like, that was completely ad-libbed.
And you, the guy that's been making noise through this whole movie, you sing too,
Yep. Yeah, but there's just so many, Karen Allen is absolutely adorable in this.
So love to see her, because you don't see her a lot at all since Raiders.
No.
Like, she was in Starman, she was in this, and that was about...
No, I mean, they brought her back for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
We could have seen a lot more of her, unfortunately. I don't know if that's by choice. But there's a joke at the beginning where they were talking about programming for cats and dogs. And Roku actually has channels that are pet specific.
Really?
So somebody saw this and yeah, I guess there's content that you can leave your television on that is supposed to keep your cat's interest all day. I don't know.
Now, how much did you hear about the behind-the-scenes feuding going on during this movie?
It sounds like there was a lot of issue going on where he was unhappy with the script. They were rewriting stuff.
Unhappy with the director?
Richard Donner.
Because he said that there's one quote that I read that Donner kept asking Murray to go louder, louder, louder. And then Murray says, "I think the guy was deaf. That's why he wanted me to go louder." So that's why you see all these scenes where him shouting. That's because Donner's yelling at him off camera.
It is pretty funny.
But he does say that he was disappointed with the way that it turned out. He didn't turn out the way that he thought it would.
Well, I guess he said there's a lot of stuff that they filmed that just that's on the cutting room floor somewhere.
Yeah, and apparently the script he read was amazing. That what's in the final movie and what was in the first script is they don't really compare. Yeah,
I did read. I think like in 2006 there was talk of releasing a director's cut, and then it just never happened.
And they didn't do it. Yeah, because with a director's commentary, maybe he was saying
because Donner's notorious for that. I mean, look at that Superman 2.
Yep.
Right. I mean, that's a completely different movie. I have the Donner's cut. Yeah, I love it. It's a fun movie. It's very quotable. We didn't talk about the fact that Bobcat Goldthwait's character gets fired, and then he comes back with a shotgun. And that's an awesome scene where he's chasing him. Hello, Wabbit. He's chasing him through, shooting at him.
But then gets rehired immediately.
That's correct. Yeah, because he sees the error of his ways, and he's like, "Who's anybody having fun? You having fun up there?" And he fires off the gun. See?
Now let me point out that looking at the original movie poster, it's got a very Beetlejuice vibe to it. I think that they did that on purpose.
That could be. I will tell you that I came across a very disturbing Japanese poster, and that is going to be on our Instagram.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's bizarre. He's got like lightning bolts coming out of his fingers, and all of the demons are like breaking through a clock. It's a weird ass thing. I guess. Yeah. I mean, I guess it would be a hard movie to promote. I mean, it's a comedy, but it's a heartfelt comedy in the sense that there's ramifications for some of these characters. But
now it was only a moderate hit on first release. It cost $32 million and it made $60 million at the box office.
Oh, wow.
So it just made double its money, but of course it's grown in legend since then, as so many movies do. Yeah.
Right.
So it is definitely not only a cult classic, but it's a Christmas classic. You can't avoid it.
No, and it is. I mean, it was pretty easy to get at my library, but probably playing 24/7 on AMC somewhere.
Yeah. So Scrooged. What would you give it? Being this is your pick for favorite holiday movie.
Jeez, we didn't Well, you made that 5 bucket. I would go 4 1/4.
4 1/4? Yeah.
I would go 4 1/4.
I would do 3 1/2.
Easily
It's a little dark for my taste.
Yeah.
You know, it's still, if you're in that mood, it gets you right in your sweet spot. If you're guiltily laughing at.
Yeah, because there's so many great. Like I said, the ensemble cast of these characters it's fun.
And that ad that Murray comes up with himself, showing all the
right.
terrible things happening in the world.
You're right, nuclear war.
And it ends with a mushroom cloud. Yeah, it's like watch Scrooged.
But sir, it's the highest rated commercial we already have. People want to watch it. They're gonna have to force themselves to watch it. They're gonna be afraid to miss it. Yeah, he is very frenetic in this. That is for sure. I guess that's due to Donna yelling at him. Louder. Wait, Jeff, did you hear that?
What the?
I hear something. Is that something on the roof? Is it Santa? Is it Santa?
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Jeff, we're still awake. What are we doing?
We better hide.
Oh, Jeff, did you fix the weak spot in the roof?
I meant to.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch!
Let's get out of here. Just leave a gallon of milk and that box of Chips Ahoy. Just leave it and go. Come on, let's go.
All right,
we got to get out of here. All right.
Guys.
Next week, Rogue One, another 5 bucket episode. We're in full Star Wars mode here. So 5 bucket. The week after, Rise of Skywalker.
Woo!
Join us. Merry Christmas, everybody.
All right. Yes. Hurry. Get up.
Son of a bitch!